So now I've got this working, I almost don't have enough space. I almost made this thing too thin. I'm gonna show you it still works. Is that proof? Oh my gosh, it's lovely. I don't quite know how to make all this wiring here. I might put another, not a whole wide piece, but just a thin perimeter piece, just to give me a little bit more space. You can see, if I make this one like floor mat thicker, I think I can squeeze all my pieces in there. But if I don't, I'm just gonna have some weird gaps. I'm just gonna, usually I'll use like the end pieces that have all the little cutouts. I'll just use that and I'll split it and just use it as a perimeter and glue it around the perimeter. I think that's what I'm gonna do here. So I was a little tight on my switch anyway, poking through, and this did not help any. Now I got wires and stuff I need stuff in there. And I'm always wondering, do I do Velcro just in case my wiring? I did not hot glue in it. I just kind of crimped it with pliers, just the wire directly on my LEDs. And that works right now. Oh, see, saw a little bit of blinking. But it might stop working. If I need to pull this apart, I can make it easier on myself, but not ever do that. But I think I do need to add a little bit of border just to give me a little bit more clearance. I need to glue it all together so I can sand it. I'm gonna have to sand it all together. I hate having it dust with all my wiring and stuff, but no way around it. But it works, more or less. Need to do some fine tuning, need to put it all together, need to sand it. Painting is gonna be a pain in the butt too. That's a problem for another day. I don't want to leave the lights showing just because they're, I want it diffuse. Maybe I just get some acrylic, sand it, and even though it's not black, I mean, maybe I missed it black, but I need something to diffuse it. I don't know. It's working right now. That is awesome. Yeah, if it doesn't work the first time, do it again. If it doesn't work the second time, do it a third time. Perfectly change things, because if you just keep doing the same thing over and over, and you don't change anything, that's insanity. You gotta change every now and then. But I think, oh man, that cord's right in the middle in there, isn't it? It's working. That's good. It's on the switch. Good. So I'm creating a pattern for my hood, and basically I'm just taking this hood, flattening it out as much as I can, putting it on my paper, and just tracing around it. And that is kind of my sew line. From there, I'm just taking a wood block, and I'm just kind of using that as a rough trace. I'll just trace it around the edge of that to get roughly 3/4 of an inch off. More is fine, no less, because when you sew it together, you have to fold the material to actually sew it. So I'm having a sew line, and then I'm creating a little bit extra hem so I can put that together. Now I'm making this a little bit different because I want it to peak a little bit more. I'm gonna figure out how that structurally works. I'm thinking just plastic inside. I do want a red liner. Like I want to recreate pretty much this hood and just have it peak a little bit more. I just want it I want it a little cartoony. I'm debating on whether to put some ribs in here, these pleats. I like it. I think it gives it a nice nice character, but also seems a little fancy for my Grim Reaper. I mean, I feel like he's very plain, so I'm probably gonna skip that. I do love that, like this hood. I love the red insert. I love the black. Like this is it. I was looking at this material. I don't quite remember where I got this material. I really like it, especially for the hood. It's a little bit softer than some of the materials I used before. I definitely want some rougher materials, but for one that's on your head, it's kind of like touching your ears and your face and stuff. It's nice to have this soft material. Like my Skyrim Dragon Priest hood. That material's just a little rough, a little scratchy. Just even on the back of my neck's a little scratchy. So I'm gonna have to figure it out. I do have some wool. I don't know how I'm gonna create all these different materials. I was thinking, would the Grim Reaper's cloak, his robe, would it be tattered and torn, or maybe he's patched it? I don't want to look like a patchwork quilt. I don't know. For right now, my plan is kind of create the robe overall. The sleeves, like the way they peak, create it, and then just build on top of it. Layer on top of that. What that looks like, I don't know. That is my thing. Because if I'm going to layer it up and create all these different layers, I need a base attachment point. I think I just create the full robe and then build on top of that and figure out. I don't know if you think of it as like actual clothes where, let's say you're getting dressed. You've got your t-shirt. Well, on top of that, you may put on like a button-down long-sleeve shirt. Well, maybe you put a jacket on top of that. Maybe you keep building. So I think I'm gonna think of it like that and figure out how to build this up, because you gotta create like something based on reality. Start somewhere, and that's my starting point. So I think if I just create all these little tattered things, I think it's gonna look like a flag football gone wild. That is not the intention, and I don't know. It's one of those things I have like this vague image in my mind, and I'm trying to bring it to reality. And I think that's just gonna be inch by inch, step by step, until I say, oh, that works, that doesn't work. Let's fix it, let's keep moving until we get it right. But the hood, that's the first step. Like that, I can see, I know what that looks like. So what happened there? I do, the liner is a little bit fancy. And I just said I don't want a fancy Grim Reaper, but like, I feel like you gotta have like a little bit of fanciness, like maybe not fancy pleat-wise, but a little bit of a liner. and maybe that translates. Maybe the sleeves have a little red insert. I think, oh, you know, that'd look really cool. It's a red insert, and I could cheat it by just going basically up to the elbow instead of like going the full thing. Maybe not in that far. Maybe just halfway up the forearm, and that'd be cool. Because you could, like that, I may split where you may rip apart where the red and black fabric meets. It's kind of separated, split, kind of waving around, and that kind of like lean towards this like really worn down. Like I really want this gritty, worn down, like, you know, thousand year stare thing going on. All right, well I got half my hood. Let me trace it to the other half, and usually what I do is I'll trace these patterns, and once I trace them and cut them out, I'll tape them together on my sew line, and I'll wear it. Yeah, it's paper. It doesn't quite feel like cloth, but it gives me a good enough idea of, oh, is this peak? Is it too long? Is it too short? You know, is the length like on sleeves? You know, I'll cut out the whole robe in paper, put it on. Do these sleeves kind of work the way I think? Like, yeah, it's paper, it doesn't quite lay, but you can account for that. Man, you'd think I'd not forget these things, but I created my hem. I traced out my hem 3/4 inch. I forgot in this stage, you don't really want to do that because it makes folding it in and trying to tape this together with paper a lot more difficult. Like, I'm just looking for shape and size here. You'd think I'd remember this much I've done it, but I still forget. So I've taped it together roughly. I use painter's tape because it doesn't really stick that well. And usually I'm taping and retaping and untaping. Holy cow, this does not hang well at all. That is the downside of paper. It does not hang the best. I'm looking because this hood hangs so well, but this paper is not doing it for me. Let's see. So potentially, I need to tape it more. I've got this hem going around the outside edge, and it is creating a ruckus. And yes, I do. You saw me, I just took off my scorpion hood. I do, when I'm costuming and I'm looking at other costumes, how I did it, I'll wear those things around. I found my Aridin Brack glass belt with all the little strips and spikes. Yeah, I'm wearing that belt right now too. I mean, you look good, you play good. Let's see. I really just want to look. I know the hood itself is fine. I'm really just kind of looking at that peak. I don't know. I feel like it should come out a little bit farther. So to understand exactly where this stuff would fall. Because the paper, it doesn't drape, unfortunately. Yeah. Well, I peeked it out, but it still feels like it should be a little bit farther. I got a mirror on that side of my shop, that's what I'm looking at. And if this were cloth, this would droop. I'm gonna work on that. I don't know, it feels like it should be a little bit longer, but it's a little hard to tell too, because this thing just does not drape well. I may just need to tape it up better and see it's gapping as I try to shape it correctly. It kind of reminds me of, who is it? Ezio Editore from, what? Assassin's Creed, I think he's in the first one. And it just needs, I think it needs to come out a little bit further. Like, I want it, like, I want people to look at, like, how is that hood supporting itself? I'm thinking maybe 3 more inches. The good thing is, this being a template, I'll just, I'll write down on there 3 more inches, and I'm just going to grab paper. I'm going to make it 3 more inches, kind of cut that curve to fit what I have to come back. I mean, it's funny. I trace it right off of this hood. This hood is perfect. Also, it just drapes a lot better around the neck. Gives me ample room. I think that's probably part of the problem. But I added, what I add, 4 inches? 4 inches would be that much out to there. I mean, that seems like a lot. It does not seem like a lot with that. But again, how it drapes is a little different. 4 inches is a lot. Doesn't seem like it. I kind of like my face is a little bit recessed. I almost might recess it even more. Now, I really want people to kind of come in and want to look at it and be like, oh, that's a skull. That's a skeleton. And maybe 2 inches here. Maybe go 4 more inches. Alright, I think that's where that's going. And that's how the costuming works. You make a pattern, and if I start from scratch, it'd be similar. Like this gives me a bit of a head start just because I have a hood. I know that hood works well, and that has been perfected from the hood I did prior to that. And so this is just a matter of like kind of getting it out, because I want it kind of far. Now, I guess I need to be sure I don't cut off my peripheral vision too much, but then again, I'm wearing a mask, so there's no peripheral vision, so this really could come out a couple inches, could be right in here, peek out. Yeah, I think we're onto something. I think I've got my hood right where I want it. I mean, being paper doesn't lay quite right, but I think this peak, I think this is it. Alright, like I've got a mirror on that side of my shop, and so it's very easy for me to just kind of look over there, see how does this thing fit. I think this peak is it. Now I'm going to need to reinforce it. I think that's it, because it's going to probably curve around a little bit like this. You've got this really long peak. You know, if I'm looking down, it really kind of hides the face. A nice reveal. When people are looking at you, you got this skull face going on. That is a long peak. You can see that's a long peak. I like it. I think we got it. I was thinking today, I should look up the Harry Potter Dementors in the movies, because I mean, those were pretty like creepy looking, like grim looking things. You know, it might spark an idea or something for me to do something with that. I still need to figure out a lot of stuff, but hood is set. I need to glue together my padlock. I mean, I've cut a bunch of pieces there. I just need that. I want it looking more complete. And I still have to figure out, all the lights are kind of stuck in there. How do I paint it? I think just need to be really careful taping everything off. Alright, I'm going to start cutting out patterns for the robe. I was looking through my stuff to see, do I have an existing robe that kind of works? Can't find my Skyrim robe. My Dragon Priest robe is somewhere. I know I have it. I don't know where. But I think that would give me like just a good starting point. I can figure out, because I know that was a little too short. Figure out the sleeves. If I can't find it, I'll just go with it, make it out of paper, and guess. It's worked well for me so far. Finally found my Dragon Priest robe. I do not love it. I thought I might use it as a basis. I'm not. And so the way it works is basically it's a kind of a vest type structure, and then you had, I mean, this is all based on video game pictures. This is the best I could decipher the way they do it. Then you like have this robe part where you know your arms and all the sorcerer type stuff. I had a zipper down the front because I had that hood part that went down the front that covered the zipper, so it didn't really matter what that looked like. And this thing is so back heavy because you've got this back part, you've got these tails, you've got this leather web cape thing going on. I don't like this, and because really with the Grim Reaper, I want the sleeves very long, at least, you know, knuckle ways. And I'm gonna have I bought some cheap like skeleton hands. Hopefully they look good. I don't know. If they don't, I will tweak them and paint them and make them look good. Come down to here. I want the sleeves kind of droop down, come up really kind of like the sorcerer type stuff you see, like these big sleeves, just huge. I mean, again, I don't quite know how I'm gonna do this. I don't want to see a zipper. I want it to be just this big robe. Like this robe is supposed to go down to my ankles. It stops my knees. I don't know how I screwed that part up. I'm thinking right now, contrary to like typical clothes, where you'd have a shirt, and then you may put a jacket over that. You may put an overcoat over that to kind of get that layered effect, and just do like, I mean, this is a very thin, not quite fleecy knit material. I don't know, but I do know that this thing doesn't work. I'm gonna just treat it like a long sleeve shirt is what I'm gonna kind of base this on, like a very long shirt. I thought maybe splitting it skirt and shirt. I don't know, because am I pulling this over my head? Does this have some kind of zipper front? Like, you know, have to hide the zipper, create a flap. That's more work. Maybe it's just one big robe. It's going to be a little bit heavy, though, because I'm going to have multiple layers to it. I'm thinking I want shoulder pads. Like, I'm going to do EVA foam and kind of put it in there to where it's just, you know, a little bit, like, look, a little more imposing. So I think I want something like that. So I think I'm going to do some shoulder pads just to give it that look, especially with the mask and the bigger head and everything. I think you need that. So I need to figure out how that's going to work. I think probably they're glued or stitched or tied to the robe itself, so it's just all one big piece, and it sits here. And I don't need it big, just probably like a half, kind of like a pauldron that goes half to half. So I want pauldrons on top of the thing. So, you know, you bump that a little bit, put pauldron on top of that. That gives it a nice width. I like that. But this is just not going to serve as a basis. So I was looking to see if hot glue would diffuse my LED, because I want some yellow lights around the eyes. And I don't know if do I drill in here, like right in there. Do I just drill in there, put an LED there, maybe another LED right here at the top, because they do need to be in series Otherwise, I'm gonna burn them out on my battery. I'll put another battery holder here. And I also want some red lights around the back. So this thing, you know, you have these red lights in the hood. It's kind of glowing. All right. I mean, do I have to do 2 battery packs? I guess I'll just test it and see how bright they get. So I'm trying to see if hot glue will that diffuse the yellow LED enough to kind of do what I want it to do. I think so. At least enough for me to install it and mess it all up and see where it goes. So I've got my jumper wires here. This is your standard yellow LED. So you can see how bright that is. I like that yellow. Now I just put a dab of hot glue on the end of this LED just to see. Yeah, I think it will diffuse it well. I think I'll just do like a glob of hot glue right on the thing to diffuse it a little bit. I think that'll do it. I think that's enough. I don't think it's perfect. I think there are better ways to do it, but I think this would be the way I do it. Alright, added an extra layer to my padlock. It is a little thicker than I want. I mean, that's pretty thick. Not detrimental, but I needed it. But now everything fits in there. I have not glued it together. I need to do that. I will do that. I don't quite know if I need to leave it open where I can get inside it. I mean, everything works fine. I've got my switch on the back. Flip the switch. Lights are on. This bottom one doesn't glow as brightly just because it's sunk down a little further. I may cut out around it just so it lights a little brighter. Like the light is the correct brightness, just it's sunken and it's not, since the others extend past the foam, they're a little bit brighter. Don't quite know how to diffuse that. I mean, yeah, I guess you could say, oh, that's fine as is. I really want it diffused. I've got some ideas. And now, do I like hot glue it so I can pull it apart if I need to if something goes wrong? Or do I just full send it and contact cement it all and never be able to get into it again? Because I need these batteries back. I get those back. They're just right in the back. The switch, I've got so many switches. I don't need that back. The LEDs, they're already written off. I don't know. But I like it. My actual loop is here. Yeah, it is. It's a little thicker than I wanted, but it'll work fine. So it'll be here. I'll have all these chains. I like it. I think it adds a nice amount of depth to the costume. Switch off. I mean, the switch, I'll debate on the switch. Very nice. Makes it very easy. Now I'm working on the robe, and I'm just starting to scratch the pattern. And basically how I do that, I have all this paper. I just take it, and I'll kind of hold it up to my body, and I will just trace around where I think it needs to go. And, you know, I may end up doing it 2 or 3 times until I get it right. That's where it goes. And I need to remember, I want foam shoulder pads. I think this like seems like a good size. I'm just gonna like kind of put it in there and base off that. Base right there. And I just need to count it as I make it. But yeah, that's all I do. I'll trace out, I know like half arc for the arms, the neck, and I'll put it on. Doesn't work. I'll add to it. I may start all over. And once I get to the final thing, then I retrace it a really good clean pattern, make sure it does what I want it to do, and then we're ready to go. And so this, right now I'm thinking one big robe. I debated on whether I split it or not. I want to need some kind of loop or tie where I can pull the skirt up when I'm not on stilts. I also need to account for the fact that I need to add an extra roughly 16, and I think I came up with 12 inches for the skirt because I want to show my ankles here because they're goat hooves, and that's awesome. Oh, you know, I need to buy fur for the goat hooves. I don't think I have that on my list of things I need. I wonder where you get fur. I'm sure like some hobby store has fake fur. All right, I'm gonna get to cutting out this robe. Basically, I'll cut out the back. The back you arc a little less for the neck hole than the front. The front you arc a little more from the neck hole because just the way things sit. And see if we can like start getting a thing. Right now I'm just gonna do the base robe. I don't know how I'm gonna add to it to create these layers I envision. It's this loose vision in my head. But we'll start with the base robe. Once we get the sleeves right, kind of the overall shape of the robe, well, then we'll just add to it and go from there. So this is the progress on the back of my cloak. Is it cloak? Robe? I don't know, I like cloak. It makes just a matter of, I'll kind of put it on, I'll see, oh, this is how this is hitting me under the arm. At first it's hitting me too high, so I'll cut it a little bit lower. The foam, I need to bend this foam. It's a little too straight, making it a little crazier. Probably too, that's too wide. That foam needs to come in, I think. But it's inch by inch. And what I'm gonna do to get the front, I'm just gonna trace it to the back and cut the neck a little bit lower and go from there. And if you screw up, just start over. Yeah, these are, I take these on just to get a feel for it, but they are way too wide. Probably need to come in 2 inches on each side. I still need to figure out how long this whole thing needs to be. That's gonna be a lot of material. All right, I'm gonna replace these. I'm gonna cut the front. I'm gonna then tape the front and back together because at the same time, I may need to make it a little bit wider overall if I'm not gonna put a zipper or any kind of buttons or any attached from the front. If I'm pulling it over, I may need to make the whole thing a little bit wider just to facilitate that. Let me move these shoulder pads. Let me cut the front, put it on, and we should be getting closer to having a cloak. So I've taped the front back together, and the first thing I noticed is this neck on the front is cutting way too tight, so I made a mark here to cut it down to there. My shoulders extend too far. My shoulder pads end about right here, as far as where my sleeve should end. That way it's a nice transition to the sleeve parts, where the shoulder sleeve. I will have some pauldrons right in here. I think these shoulder pads are at a nice spot where they can either, I'm going to attach them right on, be nice. Length needs to be longer. I think overall it's very big. That's what I wanted. I think it's good. The sleeves are really way too big. I don't know how I screwed that one up. They need to tighten up a little bit. And they're coming down nearly to my waist. I need to tighten. I want them big, not that big. So I'm thinking like a mark. I don't know what I think they should be. Is that right? I think so, because I want them pretty large. I don't want these sleeves fitted, but I mean, that's just huge. So I think this is good. I might work on the length. I know in my notes I wrote down 60 inches long, 68 inches long with the stilts. 60 inches long from what? I have no idea. I might go ahead and try to get the length roughly where I want it as far as when I'm walking, and then figure out how much I need to add for the stilts. Because then, again, I need to, right now I'm thinking maybe I just put some buttons on the end somewhere, and I just have a loop, and I just pull it up, put those loops over the buttons, boom. And I'm set. And I don't know if that's at my waist, I don't know if that's thigh level. I'd figure that out once I get there. So I'm going to work on these sleeves, work on these shoulders, work on the neck, make this a little bit longer, because I want it just about touching the floor when I'm on foot. So really, I was thinking I'd have to pull it up really far. According to my notes, it's only 8 inch difference, which may be right. That probably is right, because the stilts raised me up, I think, where did I put that? I think the stilts raised me 16 inches. I'll write that down. I'm trying to write everything down, but I don't see it right now. Well, I know it's written somewhere how much height the stilts give me. I've got stuff everywhere. Alright, the stilts add 16 inches. So adding 8 inches more probably makes sense, because for the stilts, I want to see that hoof, baby. If I put it on and the neck's still not in the right spot, I'll just keep cutting. If I cut it too low, then I'll just tape on paper and add it, because I want to know about where things need to be. I mean, these sleeves, how did I mess up these sleeves? Like, look at that, that is way low. I think it needs to be right there. Is that where I'm marked? Yeah, it's about right where I'm marked. Alright, so that is good. Alright, let me fix this. Add some length to it. Start on the sleeves. So I think the sleeves need to be, right here. I think that sleeve needs to drape, and it comes in. Yeah, I think that's it. Then that way my hands are down, like the sleeves look a lot longer, so you never quite know where my hands are. And you bring it up, those skull fingers start to appear because the drape comes down. I mean, it's all about you creating this story, creating this narrative. Like my head's down, you have this big peak where you can't really see my face, and it comes up, boom, get them. This thing has gotten quite long, quite big. Makes me wonder if I should split it in two, or if I need some kind of zipper or attachment down the middle. But this is a lot. I'm cool. That is a lot. I'm just ripping stuff left and right. And this doesn't include the 8 inches extra I need for the stick. Okay, paper. Hard to find good paper these days. Alright, length is certainly good. But if I'm walking in this on foot, I do not have that much room to walk, because it's one length that needs to flourish. It's not flourish, man. I don't know, bell shape. It needs to, whatever, bell shape at the end. But this length is good. I think what too, you can kind of like fold it. I don't know, I wonder if it needs to be even bigger. And maybe I have some kind of belt to bring it to, because I don't want that belt too tight. But, I don't know if it's going to group and kind of pleat like I want it to, unless I'm doing something to help it. But this length is good. This rope is way too long. So if I could start pleating it, I don't know, a zipper down the front is not bad. I might just do like a fold or something. Make it into it way easier. This thing needs to be 8 inches long, so I'd be crazy if I get into a cocoon or a sleeping bag. I don't know how much bigger it needs to be. And I can do a step. I'm not impacting that much, but I'm pretty much right at limit. Like if I take one step, it's kind of right at limit where I'm stretching the material front and back. And I don't want to do that. I want it bigger, but how much bigger do I want it? I think a foot. I think I need to add a foot to it. I think if I just do that, I think that'd be good. I think there's plenty of room to work with. And then if I need to somehow plate this or gather it, I can figure it out. And potentially I could just sew the pleats in. Because the only thing around my belt is, you start to like constrict that waist. All of a sudden this is not an amorphous blob, which is what I'm after. At least that's what I think I'm after. I need 8 inches on top of that. I think 8 inches, I think I just would pull it to my waist. Maybe not, maybe I just pull like just the very bottom 8 inches, pull it up 8 inches. How would that look? Maybe I can loop it inside. I don't know if I like that either, but I have to think about that one. So this is kind of the robe. Still need the sleeves, still need a lot of fine tuning. So the whole thing needs to be bigger, just like, well, the whole thing doesn't need to be bigger, so I'm going to be adding layers on top of this, and that will account for that. I think we've got our basis. This is it. What a heck of a robe. This is going to be a lot of material, for sure.